Real Hustle podcast, hosted by Chris Kiblin. Real hustle, real people, real results.
What's up, man? How are you?
Doing good. How are y'all?
Good. So we got special guest, my co-host, special co-host, Lexi today. So we decided we were going to try to do something a little bit different. You guys know each other from a video that you did together, right?
Yeah.
That you just recently put out. So kind of just tell us a little bit. Let's start off first. Kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a little bit of background.
Yeah. So I grew up in Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is like a suburb of Nashville. So I grew up playing mainly sports, but my family was musicians. So there was like instruments around, I'd pick at it here and there. And I had started like playing probably, when I was 13 or so. And then, but sports was still always the thing until actually when I was in college, playing golf in college, I went to Lipscomb my first semester. And there I went to some open mic nights on the weekends. And so it was like, I remembered that specifically, it was something that made me very nervous. And so I was like, I gotta go do it again, because my voice was shaking on the first one. It was like visible, like I knew that they could tell. So I was like, I gotta go try it again, and then just from there, it's kind of built, ended up finding my way down, on Broadway in Nashville. I'm playing at those bars.
What is that like? Because, I've heard and I've talked to people, and I know people actually that have moved to Nashville to try to get a start, right? Whether it's songwriting, whether it's singing, hundreds of thousands of people. And, and you're competing against all these people to get into the bars, to get in and learn this stuff. That's got to be kind of, exciting. And like, once you get that breakthrough, because I'm sure it's not easy.
Yeah, I guess so. For me, I think everybody's journey is interesting, and it's like all a little bit different because it depends on like where you're coming from. Like I said, for me, the live performance aspect was like the nerve-wracking part of it. So I've been writing these songs already, but then when I got up to go play in front of people, I was like, man, this is not good. It's not what I like in artist, and so for me, I kind of just kept trying to pursue that. So it started out with just a few local bars that I, got gigs at. And then I came across, I don't know who told me about it, but actually what happened was my mom was sending out emails and she mistakenly sent it to a Broadway bar.
Okay.
Because Broadway was a specific thing where you had to like kind of know all these covers and you were expected to like have this show where you could play for 4 hours straight. And at this point I'm playing acoustic by myself, and I can play for 4 hours, but it's like only by myself. So I've never played with musicians backing me. And like, that's a whole nother ball game. But she actually sent it out and the guy never answers emails because he gets thousands a day. I ended up working with him later. So I know that he never answers emails, but randomly he actually did respond to her and for some reason gave me a gig on a Saturday, 2 to 6. So then I'm scrambling trying to figure out a band, play a full band up there. I went up there, and this is something that they do. It didn't go well. So it was not like the best thing it didn't go awful. So like it could have been, we were able to get through songs, but it wasn't a great performance. So we did not get asked back, but I ended up asking the guy. I called him and just asked him, hey, what do I have to do? He, the booker's a character, so he had some words for me, and then, but he did tell me, he was like, we do an open mic night on Saturdays or 2 to 6 with the full band, and he said if you come back there, you can try and sit in with the full band. And so that's what I did is I learned a few songs. Now I kind of knew how it was going. I listened to the records and then I went back. And that time he was like, okay, well, you can come back tomorrow. And basically from there, like, you're kind of off to the races in that particular circuit.
Okay.
So from there on, it was playing acoustic shows first. And then it went into full band stuff. He started, working me in with some of the bands, and then for a little while I had my own band there before I kind of started moving out to Florida. But so so like anybody can get in one with like the Tootsies and Kid Rock circuit. I mean, unless they've changed something, which I doubt that they have, anybody can go try out on a Saturday 2 to 6.
Okay.
And sit in with the full band. And so a lot of times the booker is there. And yeah, if you go sit in and the booker's there and he likes it, you know, I think the first time that I showed up, the booker wasn't there. So I had to show up like a few times.
Yeah.
So it definitely was not like it wasn't a process that was easy necessarily.
Yeah, because that's what I kind of mean. Because, you know, I really want to kind of like get into that because like it's got to be difficult. I mean, there's thousands of you, right? And trying to get into these bars, there's only so many spots, you know, and your hope, right, is to hopefully get picked up by a label or, you know, someplace like that. So like that's the hard part, right? Because, you know, it's like, how do you figure that part out? And, you know, because like, I mean, you know, that's the tricky part, right?
Yeah. So, and like, I think for me, you know, one, I see it very much as I'm still figuring it out. We're still getting there. I'm moving things actually into like different directions. I think the longer you're in it, just natural things start to happen. Like, you know, maybe I was willing to drive, you know, 500 miles for a $100 gig at one point just for the experience, you know, but it's like at some point, you know, you have to start making some different decisions based on your needs. And so that kind of like changes things. But I think that like getting into it, it's one of those things where you have to decide, one, that it's something that you want to do. Because I think pretty much anybody, it's like you kind of have to make a decision. And so like for me, it took a while for me to make the decision that I thought I could even pursue it.
That's kind of my question. So that was my next question, because I really wanted to know, is this something you knew from you were a kid, that this is what you wanted to do?
And no. I knew that I liked musicians. So I remember as a kid, you know, we would go to some different concerts and stuff in the summer. My mom was a teacher, so she would take us in the summer. So I remember that there was one like contemporary Christian radio station in particular that would do summer events. I remember going and seeing some of those guys. And I can't remember who all was there. I mean, I think this was when like Casting Crowns had like a big hit, and like so there were some really good bands going on in that. And so I heard some of those people, and I remember like just seeing the way that it made me feel. So I do remember wanting that. But as far as like trying whether or not I thought that I could do it and do it as a career, I did not think for the longest time that I would actually try it as a career. That's why, I mean, I was playing golf, but I was always somebody who was into, like, I was willing to do something that statistically not many people make it.
Are you doing this full time now? Is this paying the bills and all?
So it bounces. It bounces. So I went a long stretch where I did it just playing as many gigs as I could. And so what I've done now, and I kind of mentioned this before the podcast, is so taking a step back now that I've had like, 6 or 7 years now in this, and like being on the road and playing as many shows as I can in a year, I've started to like look at, okay, well, like what do I want to do? What's my goal here with the music? So part of that is I think some people go for trying to get a big record deal. For me, I've been trying to, I went to school for music business. After I, stopped playing college golf, I went back and was actually going to school at MTSU for music business when I got offered the spot at Tootsie's. So I went out of that program to go start playing full time. But I had been studying that music business because the music business is in a spot where right now, and independently, I can go release a song and get it out to millions on the same platforms that the major labels have, and that's never really been possible before in the music business. Like, you needed a label to be able to go get you into a studio because you couldn't afford the studio equipment. They didn't have like all these, you had to know how to work. I mean, now they've got literally like AI assisted plugins, that can get you going in the right direction and things like that. That they just didn't have. So right now, that's why you've seen a lot of independent artists that blew up off of like different social media platforms
TikTok
and all this
and stuff
stuff.
like
yeah,
that.
because it's
Yeah.
you know, it's just a matter of, and that's where, so me being, I'm kind of like a music business nerd, so it's like I'm trying to analyze it to see whether, you know, I can just create like any other business, like a process that way that if I wanted to go sign another artist behind me, that we can do it and we can be doing the types of shows that we want to do. So so I've kind of moved actually out. Surprisingly, I stopped doing shows for a little bit right here at the end of the year.
Okay.
And then I've started adding some of these ticketed shows to where I can focus on the originals. Because a lot of what I've been doing is bar stuff. And, you know, one of the, I guess, kind of misconceptions in a way of like Broadway, like when I grew up, that people told me Broadway is where you go to get trapped.
Man.
Like they were like, you'll never make it if you go play on Broadway. So it's so that's what, like another one of those things where like growing up like in a suburb of Nashville, you know, a lot of people were moving to Nashville. It was always like cracking me up because a lot of people were moving to Nashville to come try out at these bars,
Right.
you know, and then I ended up playing in the bars. So I wanted to go experience that too because I felt like I needed the experience on stage, and it gave me great experience on stage. Like those guys taught me a lot. But with that being said, in the back of my mind, still I've got like all these old timers that have told me, don't go play on Broadway. So, you know, so like the music business in particular, I think that, you know, where I'm at with everything is like you can really do whatever you want in today's day and age, and that you can make the music that you want. So, like I said, we're putting together a ticketed show like this weekend. And for me, cost-wise and time-wise, you know, there's a little bit more planning that goes in that's going to be into this whole next year because it is very hands-on. Like a lot of the venues, this is, and I think it's the same way in every industry, but like if you go apply for a venue in another state, what they'll do is they'll ask you where you've played there before.
Right.
Which is like an understandable question, but the question is, how do you ever play in a venue for the first time in a city?
Right.
It's like if all the venues
Yes,
want you to
right.
have played somewhere in their city and have a following before, and it's like, well, how do I have a following if I hadn't been? So like that, these are like some of the questions that, you know, a lot of people are trying to figure out, even in the music business schools. Like they're still trying to figure out how to put some of these things together. And so for me, you know, I was always told that it was a 10-year process. Nashville's a 10-year town. So like, I guess 5 or 6 years in, I was like, okay, well, if I've got another 5 years to go, you know, and I want to build the business, you know, you could build it in the way that you wanted to, especially with these guys now exploding on TikTok.
Right.
You know, it's like you can
There's
do
so
what,
many platforms.
you can
now.
do whatever. Yeah, you can do whatever you. And that's the other thing. Like even the ticketed services, it's like you might not have been able to do this in the past, but there's nothing really stopping me from talking to somebody who owns a cool property and asking them if I can do an event and sell tickets, and then going and listing them online,
Right.
and then just selling the tickets myself.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more grassrootsy, but one of my mentors early on had actually encouraged me to go that route. You know, before all the Broadway stuff, she had kind of encouraged going person to person, if you will. And I think there's a lot of like case examples of people who have built really, you know, meaningful careers. So I know that was like a very long answer to, but I just wanted to kind of explain a little bit of context when I say, because it's like, I think that a lot of people, and myself included, when you first get into the music industry, it's like you want to prove that you can do it full time.
Right.
Yeah.
I can live off of it, right?
Yeah, right. That's like that's
so-
what you want to do. But then it's like, so like recently, what I did was I realized that okay, I've been building up all these skills because I've been calling venues myself. I've been doing all the marketing things. I've been doing all the flyer. Like I've done everything. I've done every single piece of this business now. So I was like, well, maybe what I could do if I wanted to not have to play. Because the other thing is, I should clarify, the reason why I wouldn't want to, why it's tough to play bars every single time and still record is because when you play for 4 hours at a time, if you got to play 4 days a week, that's 16 hours that you're singing
at night.
You know, at full blast.
And,
Yeah.
So and you know, in that rest period and staying
Yeah.
up and you know, it's like you don't.
Right, and you think about partying one night. It's like how many
Right.
times
Right.
you know have you
Exactly.
woken up after like just one night of partying
Right.
and you got a like hoarse throat? Well, it's like that, and then you go to try and record, and it's hard to make good content, you know, if you're doing that all the time. So at some point, I think you just try and make a little bit of a shift like any business would, and you kind of start to be like, okay, well, we could do like, what is, you know, at the end of the day, it comes down to like a certain amount that you need to live, you know. So it took me though actually stepping away from, I've had to step away from for like a couple months just to plan some of these other events, that way that this year we could go ahead and switch it out. And I am still playing at like the Deck in Cape Coral. We've got dates that are scheduled with them. I still do some private parties and stuff if venues reach out.
Right.
I just haven't been pursuing that.
Right.
So I've done a few.
You're not the ones doing it. They're reaching out to you now instead.
Yeah. So. And I've done a few other things. Like even this morning, I went and helped with like a cabinet job, and that was a really random job, but it was a good example of me being able to use something. So like because I've called so many venues on the phone, I'm very comfortable just picking up the phone and calling somebody and asking for, you know, whatever it is. So I found a guy and was able to go and prospect some work for him and bring in work for his business while I was kind of doing some of these other things. So like now I've kind of offset and that's kind of got me interested in doing more of that type of stuff, you know, just kind of recognizing some of the skills that I've done because I used to think that I needed to be playing 6 nights a week.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now it's like I still want to play. I will still always play. I'm the type of musician that I'll play until I die.
Right.
Like, and I will probably have shows on, you know, I would like to have shows on the calendar, like when I pass, you know, they're like, oh man, we're not going to get to go see him.
Right.
You know, I mean.
You had your tour all scheduled and everything else. And
Right.
like,
People were still looking forward to it. Because like, that's how, but guys like Willie Nelson, you know, like I feel like that's how.
Well, there's quite a few of those guys. So one of the guys that I wanted to see, like Michael Jackson or Prince, the other guy that sang for Wham, who's the guy that sings for, what was his name? The guy that's, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Michael, is it Michael? George? No.
Yeah.
No. George Michael?
George Michael.
No. Is that right? Is it George Michael? Oh, look, the producer says it's George Michael. See?
Yeah.
But like he was just somebody else that I wanted to see, you know. And so like, and that's the thing is like, you know, you and they were all like supposed to be going back out and that kind of thing, and you know, I was like, damn it, I never got to go see them, and you know, now that they're gone, because like for me, I'm older than both of you, so you know, and so like those were more of my type of people growing up, and so like, you know, and now that they're gone, but like, you know, what you know. For you, it sounds like, you know, I think you maybe, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, I think you've realized that doing the bar scene is no longer going to work for you. And you're like, look, you know, if I want to do this for a long period of time, you can't do bars for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not easy on anybody's body.
Yeah.
I mean, how long can you do the bar scene and really be... You're just going to be a bar person for the rest of your life? Or you actually want to try something and make something bigger of it? Because, I mean, you're just going to run the bar circuit, right? Like if you go to Nashville and you're just going around the circuit and constantly going around the circuit, or you going to this bar or that bar, you know, and it's like, okay, well, maybe now. And I never thought about that until you really talked about it, because I'm like, all right, well, you know, you just hopefully maybe, you know, you're thinking, well, I could just do the bar scene and then hopefully somebody will see me, and you know, and but like you're thinking outside the box, I think, on that.
Well, so the thing is, I've never been the one to like, okay, like if it's something that comes down to luck, like I'm not counting on that.
Me neither.
You know, it's like that's not how things swing for me. You just got to go do it yourself. You know, yeah. So that's kind of part of the reason too why I went down to Florida, and to kind of move it into like one of the reasons how me and Lexi met was doing a music video. And one of the things that I wanted to do when I came back down to, because I've been down to Florida before, I played in the Panhandle, went down with the Tootsie's bar. They've got a location up in Panama City. So I went down there and then played for a summer. But this time I decided to kind of venture further south and go into an area that I hadn't been before. just to see new things and to continue trying out some of these like, I guess, ideas that I had. Because what I found is that in Nashville, like, I was having a tough time wading through like the sea of like everybody's trying to do this and everybody says, so I had always had the idea like I would like to try and work with some people who like are like-minded and want to like see a good project get done and put it out there and see whether it can maybe better all of us. Yeah. And just do that like at least one time and just see. And so I came across Ben, who had posted online that he was willing to do a music video for a country artist because he wanted to work with a country artist. He hadn't worked with a country artist before. And I was like, perfect. This is exactly the type of thing. So I scheduled that. I was actually just roaming around in a camper van. Like I literally, this is like I was just playing gigs. I had like no set time that I was going to be down here in Florida. I'd been down here for a couple months though, traveling around in that van. And yeah, so I came across that and I was like, well, I definitely want to take advantage of this opportunity. And I was glad that I did. So then that's kind of what started the whole conversation there and how the video got and how me and Lexi ended up.
So how did you two meet?
Well, on the set of the music video, but I saw the post on Facebook. Been posted on Facebook, so I applied for.
You get all the roles. So how did you two meet again?
Well, we met on the set of the video, but I saw the post been posted on Facebook, and I applied for the position.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then so you were looking for somebody to be in the video. Was there a certain? Yeah. What was the character like? So like as far as.
She was a rancher. She worked on the ranch, and that's how they met in the video.
Yeah, and I think Ben was, shout out to Ben because he really did.
So Ben is
the one who is with TPA Videography.
Okay,
and so he was the one who made the post in TPA Videography. I mean, he really handled.
Because it's well done. I mean, it looks just like a regular music video, like it's been on MTV.
So one of the things that I had, thought for a while, the reason why I wanted to pair up with somebody like that is because I was like, I personally would like to see what happens if we just let him do his thing, like not try and be making suggestions in an area that I have no expertise. And so I was like, dude, like just handle, like do what you can do whatever you want to do with the song. And so I think that as far as the actress goes, he wanted like a, it talks about like your brown hair flowing like the Cumberland River. So there was like maybe a couple things like that. But, really I think Ben was just kind of trying to see what he thought would be a good fit. And it seemed like he thought Lexi would be a good fit right away. He sent it to me. I was like, I think she'll be great. So, and she said that she had a little bit of horse riding experience.
Yes.
And I will say that did set her apart because he did. We were going to, we'll see here, it was set at a stable. Right, so, and
I remember riding the horse.
Oh,
yeah, the horse was a particular part. And, if you've never ridden a horse before, if you're not comfortable with it, it's probably not going to work on video.
I just went horseback riding 3 days ago.
I love horseback riding.
Yeah.
I'm from Colorado, and out there I went horseback riding, so I missed it. And
see, you got the part just because of the horseback riding.
I love it.
Yeah, well, not just because of the horseback riding. She had a lot of other things, but I guess it does go to show. If you got the different skills, probably do help because it for sure made it. It made it a lot easier of a decision for sure.
So tell us a little bit about the song and what it's about.
So this song was one that me and my buddy Zach Gore wrote. We were just messing around and trying to come up with an idea for a song one day, and I ended up having this kind of like main groove that was like a chord change that we were doing, and I had just started messing around with alternate ways of recording music and getting it out there myself. I'm a big fan of like diving in when you can or just experimenting with the different things. So I experimented with this one, pretty much building out the track while we were writing it. And so we kind of had this, we just had like the kick drum and basically the the chord progression. And I had met a girl actually on the set of Nashville, and she had been Miss South Carolina, and so I just happened to have a Instagram post that came across, and I just had, like, with songs a lot of times it's like just to, like, you can hear a little bit in your head.
Right.
So I heard that Miss Carolina, you know, how I was singing it. And so I heard that part, and so I just thought it was interesting, like, thinking about it, because, like, one of, you know, the Southern things, like, hey, Miss so-and-so.
Right.
You know, it's like a very common thing. And so I just thought that was an interesting play on words, and we kind of, we kind of built it out from there. Zach's real good at, like, coming up with imagery stuff, too, so he had, like, some good things that I don't even know if everybody picks up on in there, you know, but yeah, it was, we just kind of built it out, and really from that groove. So it's kind of actually made in a little bit of a different way than most country music is produced. So yeah.
You want to watch it?
Let's watch it.
And this is somebody else's ranch, right, in Florida?
Yes, it's KZ Stables,
Yes.
And that's where
Amazing.
up in
Plant City.
Plant City. Is that your rant?
No.
Horses on the set.
And
The best.
were these all the horses of the ranch
Yes.
too?
Yep.
You could be the cover
Such a
of a
perfect day.
magazine. You look like you were born for the silver screen. With your brown hair flowing like a Cumberland River, legs long as a country mile. Emerald eyes that keep on making me shiver every time they light up when you smile. Miss Carolina, I wish you would come and bless the hills
The
of
horse's
Tennessee.
name was Whip,
Whip.
Miss
and he
Carolina,
was such a good boy. Oh my God, it's just
All right, what's
so
that show?
sweet and gentle, and
What's that show that's out there? It's got Rip. It doesn't.
the way.
Rip. Whatever. What's that big TV show?
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, yeah. Oh, his name was Rick.
Rip. Yeah, his name's Rip. You said Whip. I was like, okay.
Yeah. It was so great.
I'm a $2 shot, strong well whiskey.
Beautiful ranch. Everyone, the owner was there. I mean,
Still I'm
everyone was
dancing
so
like
nice.
the Cherokee, calling to the sky for rain. While I breathe, I hope you and I grow old, spread roots like the lonely pine. I would crawl on my knees every mile in between Rocky Top and Caroline. Miss Carolina, I wish you would come and bless the hills of Tennessee. Miss Carolina, you know you could use me till the day they bury me. Miss Carolina,
And did such a good job at like, putting it all, you know. Together, just
That's a great video.
come on, Miss Carolina. If you want a good man behind you, I wanna be the man behind you. Come on, Miss Carolina. Come on, Miss Carolina. If you want a good man behind you,
Pretty sure you
I wanna
remember
be
this.
the man behind you.
You do well. The video is great.
yeah, you look so natural.
I know.
You do on the video. I know.
so
He
funny.
was so worried.
That
He
is
was
so funny.
Yeah, you look so natural at it.
Was it weird doing it?
For sure. Yeah, it's always a little weird trying to perform it without like guitar
Yeah.
in audience.
Miss Carolina,
It was fun.
Yeah, no, that's the ranch. We were really fortunate with that.
It's perfect.
We really were. Super nice.
Yeah, we, without their help, and even it was Michelle. That was her horse, and so she's a barrel racer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And so like this horse is well trained. Like that's that's the other thing is like, and I didn't even realize that going into it, and like it's just something you learn. But like if I wanted to just say, oh, let's use a horse, like you really got to think about the fact like, oh, like horses are temperamental animals.
Yeah.
Like you really, there's like, I was so glad that she was there
Yep.
to be able to like work with Whip and to be able to do like whatever we needed, and to give any advice on the specific horse and make sure that like the horse is good through the whole thing, So, shout out to all of them that were there because they really did kind of help out quite a bit, with really just making sure that we had anything that we needed, which was was like really nice. It's I think Ben did a great job.
So where can people watch the video at?
So you can do it on YouTube if you go under my artist channel, you can see it. I think that me and Ben both posted it on our social media,
as well.
So under the TBA videography and under mine, and so I'm really excited about it. That was, I guess, kind of bringing it back full circle. Like stepping away from doing it as much focus on the bar gigs was so I could focus on stuff like this, and like we did it on a Saturday. So it's like I couldn't be playing that day, and there was a few things and that had to happen in order to make this one kind of come together. So I was really, I'm still really excited that we were able to get it done, and
It's an awesome
that
video.
it went so well.
So fun.
When I think Lexi did a really good job too of like acting. It's funny you talk about it's like how natural did it feel versus like how natural does it come across?
Right. It's a different world. I know. I did a little acting role with her, and so I'm like,
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. How did
weird.
you feel? How did you
It's
feel?
weird.
Did you feel like you did it naturally?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, so it's like I guess once I see it, I'll let you know. But
So I don't know.
yeah.
This is actually kind of one of my questions. Do you have like a method for like being natural? Like, do you just pretend you're the
think
person
it-
like in your mind?
No, yeah, I think it just comes, like especially with acting. I love acting because I love being able to play someone and portray someone who I'm not, who's different than me. So that's the fun of it.
That's what I like.
That's
Yeah.
the fun of being able to like reading the script, reading who the role is, reading like putting myself like if I was her, how
I just
how
think
would I-
what's cool too to think about is like I always want to be a gangster, or I want to
Right?
go blow
And
people
you
up.
can't
You
in
can't do
movies.
that in real life.
Right.
Like, I want to
Yeah.
get to it, but how cool
You're
is
like,
that
I want to play a mafia girl,
right, or
like,
something like that? I just like so
Yeah.
that's kind of like my thing is
Yeah.
like I see these stuff and I see this stuff in movies, and I was like, that is like I watched. So I just watched another movie called Invincible, right? So it's a football movie, right, where Mark Wahlberg is the main character. They have this open practice. They let him walk on, right? Only guy to make it, and just like you just got tears in your eyes watching this dude. But like you're sitting there and you're just like watching the emotion. It's like how cool would that be? You're not. I'm not an athlete, right? But to play an athlete, and do something like that. I think that's the fun part of acting.
Well, see, in this music video, like, I love country music. I'm I'm a huge country girl. So it was easy for me to like, oh, I can ride a horse, that was me. I used to do that in Colorado, and country
Yeah.
music, I love country. I go to country bars, country dancing. I love all of it. So that was just a
Yeah,
nice
that's-
Saturday for me. Like I love it,
Yeah, that's interesting.
It was
That's- it's
But you look
definitely-
totally natural there.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I mean, you looked great, and it was just like, I mean, and it looked very professional done, and it
Yeah.
wasn't like one of
Ben
these
did a great job.
hack jobs, some of the stuff you see out there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so it's like, well, just put a movie, a music video together. I mean, the editing and just
yeah.
the way that the screen switched and everything else was really well done. I've been doing this long enough, especially with podcasts and stuff like that, and video editing, and you see some stuff out there. So,
for sure. I mean,
And
I've
it's,
tried. I've tried a million video things.
I've seen
and-
some podcasts out there. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
But that's
I mean-
why I do what I do, is because, like, look, I mean, I wanted something that was very unique and different, and like me finding this place was pretty. I think it was meant to be, because you can just tell when you see other podcasts out there. It's like, they're just. I mean, some of them are people's houses, the dog's running through the back.
Right,
And,
yeah.
or you got all of a sudden somebody rings the doorbell, and it's like, really? I was like, and so I wanted something that was more professional, because the thing is the people that we're having in are professional people, and, and people who actually have made something of themselves, right? You as a country singer, her as an actor. And so, like, that's really what I wanted to explode here. And we talk about social media, about how you can find yourself on social media. Think about this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, you couldn't do this kind of stuff, right?
No.
And now look at us, and, and social media has helped blow that up. And, and it allows us to be more independent with having to need all these big companies, or this whoever, these, production
Right.
companies. Oh, you got to go find them. You can do it now on your own. And before you know it, you could be that one hit away, that one,
Yeah, and
that's it. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're blowing up.
For sure. Yeah, and that's where I think that, like, to me, I think a lot of different things end up converging at that point, as it's like, at some point, it's like you just got to do a lot, and you got to just try and keep making the quality better, try and make it a quality that you want. Like, that was, this video, like I said, can't speak enough to how big it was for me, like, just to try and get something out to where that was of the quality that I felt like we should be.
Right.
It's like, I want to feel good about. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what I want. And I think if you're like a fan of, like, I'm a fan of other music videos. I'm a fan of podcasts. And so it's like, yeah, if you're a fan of it and then you do something that you would like, then I feel like that's got to be.
I just
don't
love
know.
coming on here and sharing successful people and successful stories, right? That's what this is about. This is, for me, this is coming on, learning about somebody like you that started and said, and worked their way to do what you've done, and, or what she's done. And it's fun. It's fun to learn about that, because, like, the biggest thing is people just don't know who you are unless they sit down, they listen to a podcast or something like that,
Right.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's the fun part, and that's the fun part why I like this.
Yeah.
We can learn about each other and share each other's success, and and talk about damn, that sucked. Like the first time you went and you sang, and it was like, it didn't go too well, but you learn from it, you're right, and you learn from it, and you go to the next one, and you say, you know what, it is what it is, and and I just keep going. You'll find your way.
Right. Yeah. It feels, it can feel terrible sometimes.
Oh,
too.
trust me, I
It's
know. It
like,
sucks.
Oh, man.
So,
But then I
Give
think,
up.
you find that little glimmer every once in a while. And that's what.
well, I've had, not every podcast is all created equal, and I've had some that I'm like, that just weren't great, but it's like one of those things. I mean, when I first started, I didn't have a clue what the hell I was doing, and so it's like, all right, well, it is what it is, but I just keep doing it
Right.
because I love it.
Yeah.
So,
never give up.
Yeah.
So-
And that's really, I think.
what you love.
Yeah. I think, if you can find something
Yeah.
at least related to it, that's what kind of got me down the rabbit hole with music. And here we are, still trying to figure it out. Started out as just wanting to be really songwriter, and then the performing thing hooked me. And I don't think there's ever a stop. It's like, I don't know that you can ever get good enough to where you feel like you're done.
I don't think that's ever. I mean, not if you truly love it, right?
It's true.
It's in your blood. It's going to be there until the day
Right.
you die. And I think whatever that may be, it doesn't matter. But I think you'll always want a piece of that. And I think a lot of times that's hard for. We were just talking about sports, but think about like an athlete that plays football or baseball, and at the end of their career, I mean, that's their love. And then they got to try to find that again, I mean, I think if you're an actress or a musician or some other type of job that you love, I think you're very fortunate because you can carry that on for a long, long time,
For sure.
I mean, I guess there's other ways you can figure out that scenario too, but it's a lot harder.
Yeah, it was, and it's
because you're a golfer, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because it was like that was kind of a thing. So
are you a pro golfer?
No, but I wanted I very much I didn't start playing golf till late, till probably the summer before my freshman year in high school.
Okay.
So then I didn't make the freshman team, and I was like, well, I got to come back next year, because I can't end on a loss.
Right.
And so then I ended up going and doing that, and was able to go, play college, but I was around some really good players too that were like way better than me. One of the guys that was 2 years older than me ended up winning the U.S. Amateur.
Oh wow!
Wow.
What school did you go to?
I went to Hendersonville High School.
Okay, but what about college?
College, I went to Lipscomb, and then I transferred out to Bryan College. It's an NAIA school out in there, and I did that. And for me, the golf thing, I had a couple things. I was getting frustrated, and I could tell that like my mindset was not. I was like, I'm too frustrated. Every time I got done off the course, I was like, I'm frustrated. I was like, I don't think this is like bringing really. And then that started some of the thoughts of like, well, so like long term, like what do I want to do? And then, for me, it was like an arrival of like choosing to do music was more of just trying to think of something that I liked doing that I could see myself doing throughout the day and not hating my day.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, really it was like as simple as that. And I rolled out a lot of things, and then ended up, I was like, well, I've always liked music. I've always been playing. It's like odds may not be great. I was like, but I don't know. I just kind of wanted to go ahead, and I figured it would be better to stick with something that I liked doing. And, over the years, eventually you got to get something, right?
Well, it's better to do something you like and love than something, I mean, and that's
Right.
always been my biggest motto is like, look, find something that you love, even if you don't get paid for it, because I don't make no money doing this. I've spent money, a lot of money, doing this. But the thing is that, that if you find something you love and you add a little piece of that, then you can get through the rest of it. And
Right.
and so that's that's what you gotta do. I mean, if that's what I gotta do until I figure out a way to make this a full-time living or whatever, I'll do it.
And and I guess too, I think that you've got like with music at least, I know that you've got different levels. So like you could actually be a cover, like the path that I was on at one point, we had really good shows. And so we were in some of the best spots that you could be at, like hands down, like as far as crowd goes, and it was not bad money.
Right.
But that's where I had that thought of like one, getting trapped, because I'd heard so many people say that, and I was like, I don't know how you get trapped. But then again, they taught you how to make money without necessarily just by engaging the crowd. Like just literally just playing whatever they want, and then that's what they teach you in Nashville. It's like if I play this person a song, odds are they throw me a $5. And if you do that for 4 hours,
like cover songs.
Yeah, so you're doing a lot of cover songs, and so you can actually make a pretty good living. Like there's some guys down there that they do not do bad by any standards, really.
So there's a group here and it's all they do is cover band stuff.
Yeah.
That's what is their names? They live right here. Remember Adam, my podcast guy? So he is actually one of their engineer producers. They are literally 5 minutes from here, and I'm drawing a blank of their name, but they've got like 4 or 5 million followers. but that's all they do. They do acoustic cover band stuff. They play up at Six Flags. They do big events. Like they played at Disney, and like they were too big to come on my show, but I got him. So maybe one day I'll get them. But that's what they do, and most of their money they get Spotify.
Wow.
Spotify pays them for all their songs, every download.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's an interesting case of like, and this is what I'm saying, like the music nerd in me.
Boyce Avenue. There you go. Just thought
Boyce
of it.
Avenue.
Boyce Avenue.
Oh, they're in this area?
Yeah, they're like literally 5 minutes down the street from here.
So that's crazy because that was one of the first. Well, I used to watch those cover videos and like learn how to play. I would go watch the video and see where he's putting his fingers and then go get it.
And they're brothers.
Okay.
They're all brothers. And so that's kind of a strange thing, right? So the guy that is the producer engineer, he works out at my gym, and we got to talking. And so got to talk to him, and he went to Full Sail and everything. And so he's actually had a really big career as well, but then he hooked up with them. And they just grew from doing cover songs.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
And I will say one of the things that he does too, to give him credit, like because a lot of people do cover songs, but those cover songs, they are putting their own little twist on it.
Yeah, well, that's what he does.
You can tell Boyce Avenue cover whenever you hear Boyce Avenue cover,
exactly.
Which is essentially what you're trying to do, as an artist, and then you get into the whole thing of like, for a long time. There's a reason why there are just writers in Nashville, because there are some just singers.
Right.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, if you're a singer, I mean, you are putting out an original, but if you didn't write it,
right,
you kind of are singing a cover.
You're
just making it your own. I mean, to be honest.
Well, how many artists are like that now, though? I mean, even famous artists.
Yeah, I mean,
there's tons.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch that write their own stuff now, and I think there's a lot more. But it's like there's still artists that go with that. So I think that. It's just a matter of, once again, figuring out what you kind of want to do and like what you enjoy. Because I mean, I would imagine that they probably enjoy doing those covers and making the videos, if I had to guess. And they look great
because their studio's right here. So like I've been in their studio and it's all right here, and everything they do is right there. They're recording and it's all acoustic.
Wow.
It's a cool place, and so
I have to look them up.
Yeah, so they're really in there. I had no idea how big they were until I talked to him, and I was like, and they're here and they're local.
It's interesting that it's brothers too.
Yeah,
because like that's another, they end up. I've heard of a lot of people who ended up like they were just doing something that they wanted to do, and then that's what resonated. And so like I could definitely see the brothers working well. I've got two sisters who both sing. And
there you go, trio.
When they sing with me, it sounds great. I mean, no doubt about it. It definitely sounds better than me singing by myself. And so I do think that like whenever you get that family aspect and they're working on it, it helps. But yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to make. There's really a lot of ways to make money in the music business, and it's kind of like at some point you kind of have to decide. That's what I was kind of.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got to figure out
what do you want to make. Yeah, because it's like I realized, okay, well, we could be doing this, and for me, I think part of the thing was too, is I felt like I was too young to be like. I was like, I don't even need to stay doing this longer. I probably should have stayed doing it a little bit longer and made the money a little bit longer. But I was like, you don't need to be comfortable. I'm not in this specific thing. I was like, this is not where we want to land. So I felt like I needed to kind of keep going out. And it's funny, when I got down here, I met a guy, this duo that they had just played a cover show. I think just the two of them. And they told me they made like $20,000 a night. And I was like, okay. So, and this is why I stepped outside of Nashville, and then this was one of the first people that I like meet. I came across them, and randomly, actually, they were playing at a bar that was close to the hotel I was staying at. So I just went up and introduced myself because I was getting some food, and they went on break and got to talking. And turns out they had been back in Nashville. They had a video on CMT and like done the whole thing. And like I said, they did not make bad money.
No.
And so, like, I don't, it depends on what you want.
But I think you got to do what you like to do, right? I think,
Right,
You know, I
and-
mean, not everybody's a cover song artist, and some people, they want to do their own thing.
Right.
They want it to be their own, right? You know, I mean, you know, so like, I mean, that's the thing is like, I don't want honestly, I don't care what everybody else's podcast is about. I care about what my podcast is about.
Right. And
You
people
know,
like
and
it.
so, you know, I don't try to mimic anybody. I watch other podcasts to kind
Sure.
of see what they're doing, to kind of see some ideas, but I've never been the type of guy that I want to do my own thing. You know,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
kinda-
you know, and so I want to do my own thing. If I'm going to make it, it's going to be my way.
Yeah, I feel that. That's what I'm saying, and
So-
that's definitely something that
You know, it's like I don't need to be somebody else. I don't need to, but if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it my way. And so that's kind of like how I kind of see what you are like. You know what I mean? But everybody has their own thing. You know?
Yeah.
You know. So whatever makes them happy and whatever they want to do, that's up to them.
For sure. And I'm done cover. I mean, like, in no way is it a bad thing. You know, for me, it was just more of like, I was like, oh man, I'm getting, like, I can build, like, I figured out this past year I had a moment where I realized I could book out my entire next year if I wanted to. And I was like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, what, you know, it seems, it was just hard for me right now where I'm at, like, working on this other music, and, you know, I'm trying to do more ticketed shows and get into bigger venues eventually, just so I can get, like, a group of, you know, I've met a bunch of people at bars and stuff over the years, and I'd love to get a big group of us together, you know, and it's like all the crowd that
would be
all
awesome.
likes the same stuff, you know, because that's really what you're doing. Is like, I know all these people would like each other too.
Right.
It's like if they all like me and we get along, then
That's
they
that
would
big
like
old
each other
country
too.
hoedown.
That's what I'm saying. So we're putting it together. It's happening. It's
Right.
already happening.
So
Like
let's
I said,
do it.
We're doing this. We're starting small
Got your
this
dancer
Saturday.
over here. So,
Yeah, well, it's gonna be fun. No, I'm excited about it. I love doing the music business, and like I said, it's like definitely highs and lows. But overall, I mean, I would not want to do anything different.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming down. I appreciate you coming on. So thank you
Yeah,
for being
of
our
course.
special co-host.
No
First time
worries.
for this. So,
Oh, yay.
Yeah, so you didn't know that, did you?
No.
you're the first time I've ever done this. I was
That's
telling you.
exciting.
So I
First
was like,
co-host.
first co-host. So I'm interested to see how this goes. So it was good. It was good though.
Yeah,
It was good.
It was fun.
So no, I had a good time.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me out, and thanks for letting me check out this studio. This is a cool studio. You got my wheels turning now.
There you go. So they need to do a podcast. All right. Thanks for being on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You can help support our podcast by checking out our Real Hustle gear. We have t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, hats, and more. Let everyone know that you're a real hustler, willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. You can check us out right now on realhustle.com. And right now, we are offering all of our listeners 10% off when you use the promo code PODCAST at checkout. Once again, that is PODCAST to receive 10% off your entire order.